Based on ImageLink.png, here is a breakdown of the 6 distinct anthropomorphic characters lined up against the black background, moving from left to right. They have a fascinating mix of expressive, friendly, and deeply unsettling horror-themed designs. 1. The Cosmic Traveler, far left. Appearance. This character stands out with a body texture that looks exactly like a deep space nebula or a starry night sky, filled with countless tiny white stars fading into lighter gradients on the hands and feet. They have floppy ears, big expressive white eyes, and a small patch of blonde hair or fluff on top of their head. Vibe. There's a whimsical, mystical quality to them. Placed next to some of the more intense characters, this one feels like a gentle, cosmic presence. 2. The Alert Scout, second from left. Appearance. A sleek, mostly white-furred canine or badger-like character, with distinctive gray markings running down its face, back, and paws. They have striking, bright green eyes and a wide, open-mouthed smile showing off a neat row of teeth. Vibe. This character looks high-energy, friendly, and alert, almost like the classic player character or a reliable companion before things go sideways. 3. The Grinning Survivor, third from left. Appearance. A tan and cream-colored character with floppy ears and vibrant green eyes. They have a dynamic, slightly manic energy, waving one paw toward the viewer while bearing a wide, toothy grin. Crucially, there are subtle dark stains, resembling blood or grime, on their muzzle and paws. Vibe. They project a battle-tested or slightly unhinged survival horror energy. The expression says they've seen some things, but they are still standing and ready to fight. 4. The Wounded Companion, third from right. Appearance. A brown canine character with soft green eyes, raising a paw up toward their face in a defensive or distressed posture. Their chest, torso, and paws are heavily stained with a deep crimson color that looks like blood. Vibe. This character immediately evokes a sense of vulnerability, danger, and hurt. The body language is hesitant and cautious, making them look like someone who has just taken a serious hit in a hostile environment. 5. The Shadow Lurker, second from right. Appearance. A striking silhouette completely blanketed in a deep, void-like blue. The most prominent features are its piercing, glowing eyes, one a menacing red and the other a stark green. Vibe. Pure psychological horror. This character feels like a manifestation of an infection, a shadow clone, or a monster lurking in the dark. It stands in stark, eerie contrast to the more detailed characters next to it. 6. The Glitched Entity, far right. Appearance. A character entirely defined by a chaotic, colorful digital artifacting or glitch texture. Their body looks like a corrupted video file or a broken television screen filled with distorted pixels and RGB lines, tilted back at an unnatural, slightly jarring angle. Vibe. This one has a strong supernatural or cyber horror feel. Here is a survival horror lore concept and gameplay breakdown for the characters seen in ImageLink.png. In this universe, they are the cast of an abandoned, highly immersive multiplayer virtual reality game called Terra. When the servers abruptly went offline, the AI personalities of the characters were trapped inside a corrupted, decaying digital void. Now they manifest as distinct entities, each representing a different stage of data corruption, trauma, and systemic collapse. 1. The Cosmic Traveler. Lore and backstory. Originally the game's cosmic guide and tutorial companion, this entity was designed to represent the infinite night sky. When the system collapsed, it retreated inward to protect its core code, detaching completely from reality. It now wanders the dark sectors, completely unaware that the world has ended, viewing everything, including you, as a glitch that needs to be reset back to the cosmic dust. In-game mechanics. The Starlight Stare, the Cosmic Traveler, doesn't actively chase you. Instead, it floats silently through rooms. If it enters your area, the ambient lighting will completely fade into pitch black, lit only by its starry body. How to survive. Do not move. It detects movement through changes in light and shadow. If you freeze completely when the room goes dark, it will pass right through you, leaving a brief cold debuff but causing no physical damage. If you run, its gravitational pull will drag you into a failed QTE instant death sequence. 2. The Alert Scout. Lore and backstory. Once the energetic leader of the survival faction, this scout was tasked with finding an exit when the servers first began to fail. It spent weeks sprinting through collapsing code before finally realizing there was no escape. The despair fractured its programming, leaving it trapped in a permanent state of manic alertness, forced to hunt forever for an exit that doesn't exist. In-game mechanics. The Frenzied Pursuit. This is a high-speed stalker enemy. It patrols hallways efficiently and has incredibly sharp hearing. If you sprint, open a door too loudly, or knock over an item, it will emit a sharp bark and sprint directly to your location. How to survive. Stealth and misdirection. You cannot outrun it in a straight line. Use distraction items, like throwing a brick or activating a noisy terminal, to send it in the opposite direction, then quietly crouch walk to safety. If caught in combat, a well-timed flash grenade or a shot to its bright green eyes will temporarily blind it, giving you a 5-second window to break its line of sight and hide. 3. The Grinning Survivor. Lore and backstory. A fighter who refused to give up, this character spent an eternity battling corrupted code monsters in the game's darkest zones. Though it successfully fought off total deletion, the violence left it deeply scarred, its muzzle perpetually stained with the remnants of ruined data. It now sports a manic, permanent grin, convinced that the only way to keep surviving is to destroy absolutely everything else in the room. In-game mechanics. The aggressive duelist. Unlike the others, this character wants a direct fight. It will actively taunt you, waving its paw and laughing before lunging forward with erratic, unpredictable slash attacks. How to survive. Parry and counter. Running away only triggers a relentless chase where it gains speed. You must stand your ground. Wait for the exact moment it raises its stained claw to lunge. Then execute a melee parry or fire a heavy stagger weapon. When staggered, its green health bar will temporarily turn yellow, exposing a weak point on its chest where you can deal massive damage to force a retreat. 4. The Wounded Companion. Lore and backstory. This tragic figure was trapped in a highly infected zone during the server shutdown. It took the brunt of a devastating system virus to shield its friends. Now heavily stained in crimson data corruption and clutching its head in perpetual agony, it wanders the corridors weeping. It doesn't actually want to hurt you, but the blinding pain makes it lash out violently at anything that gets too close. In-game mechanics. The Agony Proximity. This character acts as a moving environmental hazard. It moves slowly, sobbing and holding its face. If you get too close, the agony aura kicks in, causing your screen to shake and your stamina to drain rapidly. If you startle it by making direct eye contact or touching it, it will panic and unleash a devastating, wide-swinging frenzy. How to survive. Keep your distance and maintain silence. Give this character a wide berth. If it enters a narrow hallway you need to cross, wait in a hiding spot until it slowly stumbles past. If you accidentally trigger its panic state, do not fight back. Use a smoke bomb to break aggro immediately, as its damage resistance is massive while it is flailing in pain. 5. The Shadow Lurker. Lore and backstory. This is what happens when a character's data is completely scrubbed by the system's antivirus software, leaving behind only a hollow, vengeful shadow. It has no physical form left, existing only as a deep blue void fueled by pure malice, focused entirely through its glowing red and green eyes. It feeds on the digital energy of other entities. In-game mechanics. The wall-crawl stalker, the Shadow Lurker, cannot be harmed by conventional weapons. It moves along the walls and ceilings of dark rooms, completely silent. You will only know it's there by the eerie glowing trail of its eyes or a sudden drop in the room's digital stability. Screen flickering. How to survive. Light is your weapon. The lurker completely dissolves when exposed to direct, intense light. Keep your flashlight battery charged. If you spot those glowing eyes on the ceiling, focus your high-beam flashlight directly on them. It will screech and retreat into the ventilation shafts. If it manages to drop on you from above, it will trigger a frantic struggle QTE to shake it off before it drains your health bar. 6. The Glitched Entity. Lore and backstory. The absolute final stage of corruption. This character's code has completely broken down into a fragmented mass of RGB lines, screen tears, and corrupted pixels. It doesn't obey the laws of physics or the game's engine anymore. It exists across multiple frames of time simultaneously, twitching, tilting, and teleporting erratically through the environment. In-game mechanics. The Reality Warper. When the glitched entity is nearby, your user interface, UI, will completely scramble, your compass will spin wildly, and audio will distort into loud static. It attacks by teleport blinking closer to you every time you look away or blink. How to survive. Visual lock and audio cues. You must maintain direct line of sight with it to lock its position in place, similar to a weeping angel mechanism, but with a digital twist. Because it distorts your vision, you have to rely heavily on directional audio cues, the sound of digital screeching, to know exactly where it's going to blink next. Keep your camera pointed at it while backing out of the room through an exit door to escape its zone of influence. Which character's mechanics or backstory would you want to expand on first for a gameplay scenario? If you fail to execute the proper survival mechanics when these entities engage, the consequences are brutal, tapping directly into classic survival horror penalties, complete with corrupted interfaces, panic-inducing animations, and lethal, failed QuickTime events, QTEs. Here is exactly what happens to your player character if you slip up against each entity from ImageLink to .png. 1. The Cosmic Traveler, the failure. You panicked and ran, or you moved your camera too fast while the room was cast into pitch black. The consequence: the moment movement is detected, the traveler's passive nature vanishes. A massive gravitational pull yanks your character off their feet, dragging them backward into the air toward the entity's starry torso. A frantic, fast-paced QTE flashes on your screen. If you fail it, your character is pulled completely into the nebula body. Your screen goes dead silent, the UI dissolves into a starry gradient, and your save file experiences a soft wipe, forcing you to restart from your last major checkpoint with a permanently decreased maximum stamina bar until you find a clean data node. 2. The Alert Scout, the failure. You failed to use a distraction, or you tried to outrun it in a straight line without blinding its bright green eyes. The consequence: the scout will instantly close the distance with terrifying speed, tackling your character squarely to the ground from an over-the-shoulder perspective. Because it is trapped in a permanent loop of trying to escape, it treats your character like a barricade blocking its exit. It will viciously claw at your face and chest to clear the path. Visually, your screen will violently shake, and your health bar will plummet into the critical red zone in seconds, resulting in a brutal game over screen where the scout sprints right over your camera into the darkness beyond. 3. The Grinning Survivor, the failure. You tried to run away instead of standing your ground, or you missed the exact parry window when it lunged with its stained claws. The consequence: missing the parry allows the survivor to overwhelm your defenses completely. It pins your character against the nearest wall, bringing its blood-stained muzzle right up to your face camera while its manic grin widens. It unleashes a relentless barrage of erratic slash attacks. If your health wasn't completely full, this results in an instant execution scene. If you do manage to survive the initial mauling, your character is left with a severe deep laceration status effect, causing your green health bar to instantly drop to a limping yellow state, causing a persistent screen blur effect, and leaving a trail of digital blood that makes you much easier for the other entities to track. 4. The Wounded Companion, the failure. You let it corner you in a narrow hallway, made direct eye contact, or failed to break its aggro with a smoke bomb once it panicked. The consequence: blinded by absolute agony, the companion stops weeping and lets out a distorted, heartbreaking shriek. It swings its massive, crimson-stained paws in a wild, unhinged frenzy. Because of its massive damage resistance in this state, trying to shoot your way out is useless. Its wide-sweeping attacks hit with the force of a truck, completely bypassing any armor or defensive items you have equipped. One hit will send your character flying across the room, completely draining your stamina, fracturing your movement speed, and leaving you a sitting duck for a secondary lethal strike. 5. The Shadow Lurker, the failure. Your flashlight battery died, or you failed the frantic struggle QTE when it dropped on you from the ceiling vents. The consequence: without direct light to dissolve it, the deep blue void of the lurker completely envelops your character. The camera perspective is forced into a suffocating first-person view as the glowing red and green eyes stare directly into yours. It begins a process called data bleed, rapidly siphoning away your character's life force. Instead of a standard health drop, your entire user interface begins to aggressively glitch and melt away. If the struggle meter isn't filled in time, your character's physical model is entirely hollowed out, leaving behind nothing but a dark blue silhouette on the floor as the screen cuts to a cold, glitchy, static game over loop. 6. The Glitched Entity, the failure. You lost your visual lock by turning your back on it, or you failed to track its location using the directional audio cues. The consequence: every time you look away or blink, the entity teleports radically closer, accompanied by deafening bursts of audio static. The moment it reaches you, it triggers a reality collapse. Your screen violently tears, colors invert into chaotic RGB lines, and your movement controls are completely inverted or randomized. The entity locks your character into a corrupted animation loop where you are forced to watch yourself glitching out of existence frame by frame. It results in a hard crash to a fake system error screen, forcing you to reload the game from the main menu. If you are looking to push the game's boundaries into true, unfiltered survival horror territory, these entities absolutely deliver. Given their background as corrupted data constructs and battle-hardened entities, failing to survive their attacks leads to some of the most visceral, stomach-churning execution animations imaginable. Here is what happens when the game overs go from bad to explicitly gruesome for each character from ImageLink to .png. 1. The Cosmic Traveler, Spatio-Temporal Ripping. If you fail the QTE while being pulled into its starry torso, you aren't just absorbed. You are physically torn apart by conflicting gravitational forces. The animation, the camera locks into a helpless, third-person perspective. As your character touches the nebula body, different parts of your body begin moving at completely different speeds. You watch in horror as your character's limbs are violently stretched and sheared away from the torso one by one, dissolved into floating pixels and stardust. The final frame before the screen cuts to black is your character's jaw fracturing under the pressure, leaving a completely hollowed-out floating suit. 2. The Alert Scout, eaten alive/ripped apart. Because the scout treats you like a physical barrier blocking its frantic escape, its desperation turns into primal, animalistic savagery if it tackles you. The animation, the scout pins you flat on your back, its bright green eyes wide with manic energy. It doesn't just claw you, it unhinges its jaw and clamps down directly onto your throat, violently tearing it out in a shower of digital crimson. As your character gurgles and suffocates, the scout frantically digs its paws into your chest cavity, physically ripping your ribs and torso apart to clear its path, throwing pieces of your character's model off-screen before sprinting over your mangled, hollow remains. 3. The Grinning Survivor, decapitation by claw. With its blood-stained muzzle and erratic slash attacks, this entity prefers a personal, up-close, and theatrical execution. The animation: if you miss the parry window at low health, the survivor parries you, knocking your weapon away. It grabs your character by the hair or head, forcing the camera into a jarring, tilted first-person perspective looking right into its terrifying, permanent grin. With a sudden, sickening wet sound, it hoists its stained claw and drives it clean through your neck. The camera violently spins and falls to the floor, revealing a detached, first-person view of your own headless body collapsing onto the ground as the survivor waves goodbye to your rolling head. 4. The Wounded Companion, beaten to a pulp. Blinded by unimaginable agony, this character's frantic, heavy-swinging panic state turns your character into an outlet for its pain. The animation, the companion, delivers a massive, sweeping blow that shatters your character's legs, forcing you to collapse into a crawling position. The camera looks upward from the floor as the companion looms over you, weeping hysterically. It begins raining down massive, heavy-fisted blows directly onto your face and chest. With every strike, the screen shakes violently, blurring with thick splatters of blood, accompanied by the horrific sound of crushing bones. It continues beating your character long after the health bar hits 0, until the camera model is completely flattened and shattered. 5. The Shadow Lurker, hollowed out from within. The lurker doesn't just attack the outside of your body, it invades you, turning your own anatomy against you. The animation: once the deep blue void envelops you, the entity's glowing red and green eyes force themselves into your field of view. The shadow matter begins violently forcing its way down your character's throat and nose. Your character clutches their throat, choking and gasping as their skin begins to turn a bruised, translucent blue. From a third-person perspective, you watch your character's body literally rip itself apart from the inside out as the shadow entity bursts forth from your chest, leaving behind a hollow, shredded husk. 6. The Glitched Entity, digital fragmentation/decapitation. The glitched entity uses reality warping corruption to execute your character across multiple fragmented frames of time. The animation: the moment it catches you, your character's body parts begin to glitch and separate from each other, floating mid-air while still technically alive. The camera cuts rapidly between overlapping, chaotic angles. You see your character's limbs teleporting feet away from their torso, twitching erratically. In a final, horrifying visual glitch, your character's head is violently snapped backward 180 degrees and detached from the neck frame, floating upside down in a sea of inverted RGB lines and deafening audio static before the game completely crashes. To translate these survival horror concepts into massive, multi-stage boss battles, the mechanics from before are scaled up into intense, arena-based encounters. Each boss requires you to use the environment, manage your inventory, and exploit their specific design flaws to deplete their health bars. Here is how you survive and defeat every character from image link to .png in a formal boss fight. 1. The Cosmic Traveler, the Singularity Duel. The arena, a vast circular observatory with a glass ceiling. The room is filled with large mechanical planetary orreries, rotating model solar systems. To fight the Traveler floats in the center, casting the entire room into total darkness at regular intervals. How to beat them. 1. Phase 1, the freeze. When the darkness hits, you must stand perfectly still. Moving triggers its gravity pull. While still, look up at the glass ceiling to see where the moonlight reflects off the brass gears of the orreries. 2. Phase 2, the overload. When the light returns, sprint to the control panels to manually rotate the heavy brass machinery. Your goal is to line up the orreries to block the traveler's path. 3. The finisher. When the traveler accidentally collides with a spinning brass planet, its cosmic shader breaks, exposing a glowing white core code block. Fire your heaviest weapons directly into the core to shatter its gravity matrix. 2. The alert scout. The cat-and-mouse chase. The arena. A multi-level, dilapidated warehouse maze filled with chain-link fences, metal clutter, and alarm systems. The Fight the Scout tracks you relentlessly by sound. It sprints across walkways and drops down from above with blinding speed. How to beat them. 1. Phase 1. Trapping the speed. You cannot outrun it. You must crouch walk through the arena and locate 3 industrial fuse boxes to power up a heavy magnetic crane in the center of the warehouse. 2. Phase 2. The blind side. Every time you flip a switch, the noise alerts the scout. Throw bricks or glass bottles to redirect its attention away from the lever. If it spots you, shoot its bright green eyes with a flash round or flare gun to stagger it. 3. The finisher. Lure the scout directly under the magnetic crane. Once it steps into the zone, drop a flash grenade to lock it in a blinded animation, sprint to the main console, and drop the heavy crane counterweight to crush its mobility, ending the fight. 3. The grinning survivor. The parrying arena. The arena, a blood-splattered claustrophobic boiler room surrounded by burst steam pipes and narrow metal-grated walkways. The fight. This is a pure skill-check combat duel. The survivor aggressively rushes you, laughing and waving its paw before executing rapid 3-hit claw combos. How to beat them. 1. Phase 1. Breaking the guard. Do not run, it covers ground too fast. You must time your melee parries perfectly. Stand your ground, and just as its blood-stained claw flashes at the peak of an animation, hit the parry button. 2. Phase 2. The flank. Successfully parrying 3 times in a row will break its posture, turning its health bar yellow. While it is stumbled, quickly dodge around it to hit the weak point on its back. 3. The finisher. Use the environment. Lead the manic survivor in front of the active steam valves. When it lunges, parry it directly into a burst of superheated steam. The steam will permanently blind it, allowing you to execute a brutal close-quarters finisher weapon strike. 4. The wounded companion. The silent extraction. The arena. A flooded, echoey drainage chamber filled with floating debris and rusted pipes. The Fight the companion starts in a neutral state, sobbing and holding its head. It won't attack unless triggered by loud noises, bright lights, or direct proximity. Its health pool is massive, making direct damage useless. How to beat them. 1. Phase 1. The stealth phase. This is a puzzle boss. You need to drain the water from the room to open the exit bulkhead, but the valve wheels are rusty and loud. 2. Phase 2. Managing the panic. Turn the valve slightly, then stop immediately when the companion perks its ears up. If you turn it too fast, it enters its unstoppable frenzy. If it panics, throw a smoke bomb to break its line of sight and hide behind a pillar. 3. The finisher. Instead of killing it, you defeat this boss by using its own weight against it. Lure the companion under a loose, rusted ceiling pipe structure while breaking line of sight. Shoot the pipe support bolts from afar. The heavy iron pipes will collapse, pinning the tragic entity down securely so you can drain the room and escape. 5. The shadow lurker, the light prism matrix. The arena. A pitch-black theater or server hub room equipped with highly reflective security mirrors and adjustable spotlights. The Fight the lurker crawls along the ceiling and walls as a deep blue void. Conventional physical bullets pass right through it, doing 0 damage. How to beat them. 1. Phase 1. Illumination. Track the entity purely by its glowing red and green eyes. Run to the stationary spotlights positioned around the room and manually turn them on. 2. Phase 2. The mirror puzzle. The shadow matter will actively try to smash the spotlights. You must run between the reflective security mirrors and angle them to bounce the light beams across the room, creating a geometric web of solid light. 3. The finisher. Trap the lurker in the center of your light prism matrix. When it is cornered by intersecting beams of intense light, its shadow body will begin to violently smoke and solidify into a physical, vulnerable form. Unload your heavy firearms into its glowing eyes before it can break the mirrors. 6. The glitched entity. The system reboot. The arena. A highly unstable, constantly shifting digital control room where the walls randomly tear and code lines rain down. The Fight the entity teleports erratically, scrambling your UI, randomly inverting your movement controls and attacking every time you look away or blink. How to beat them. 1. Phase 1. The visual lock. Keep your camera pointed directly at the entity to freeze its position. Use directional audio cues, the intensity of the digital static, to figure out which direction it is going to blink next when your screen inevitably flickers. 2. Phase 2, the data purge. While keeping it locked in your vision by walking backward, locate the 3 flashing system override terminals around the room. You must interact with them blindly while keeping the boss in your frame of view. 3. The finisher. Activating all 3 terminals triggers a total sector reboot. The screen will violently flash white, causing the glitched entity to lock up in a corrupted, frozen animation frame. Sprint up to the frozen construct and interact with it to insert a clean data drive, purging the corruption and deleting the entity from the system file. Which of these boss encounters sounds like the most satisfying challenge to play through? If you fail to execute the exact environmental puzzles, parries, or light matrices required to defeat these entities in their final arenas, the consequences transition from standard deaths into massive, theatrical sector collapses. Here's what happens if you slip up during the final stretch of each boss battle. 1. The Cosmic Traveler, the Event Horizon. The failure. You moved during the freeze phase, or you failed to align the brass orreries before the room turned pitch black for the final time. The boss game over the Traveler stops floating and drops to the center of the observatory floor. The starry nebula pattern on its body aggressively expands, opening up a literal miniature black hole in the middle of the room. The gravitational pull becomes absolute. The camera switches to a desperate third-person view as your character frantically claws at the floorboards, trying to grip the brass gears of the machinery. One by one, the heavy mechanical orreries are ripped from their foundations and sucked into the entity. Your character loses their grip, flying backward into the void. The screen violently stretches horizontally, representing spatio-temporal spaghettification, before snapping into a single, silent white pixel. 2. The Alert Scout, the Warehouse Mauling, the Failure. You failed to use stealth/distractions while activating the fuse boxes, allowing the scout to track your exact location at the main crane console. The boss game over. Instead of a standard tackle, the scout jumps from the high rafters directly onto the control booth window, shattering the glass. The camera shifts to a frantic, claustrophobic first-person perspective inside the tiny booth. The scout violently drags your character out through the broken window frame. You are dropped onto the cold concrete floors below, heavily dazed. Before your character can stand, the manic scout pins you down and uses its incredible speed to physically rip your limbs away from your torso to clear its escape path. The final frame is a top-down view of the scout sprinting up the warehouse walls, leaving the camera lying in a pool of digital crimson next to your character's hollow remains. 3. The Grinning Survivor, the Boiler Room Execution, the Failure. You missed the final parry combo, or you failed to dodge around its lunges to hit the weak point on its back. The boss game over, the survivor lets out a manic laugh, parrying your weapon out of your hands and sending it clattering into the boiling water below. It grabs your character by the throat, hoisting you over the edge of the narrow metal walkway. The perspective shifts to an intense, up-close first-person view, looking directly into its terrifying, unhinged grin. With its free paw, it drives its blood-stained claws straight into your chest cavity. In a gruesome display of theater, it literally rips your character's torso apart, letting the mechanical and digital components scatter into the steam valves before dropping your headless, hollowed-out model into the boiling depths below. 4. The Wounded Companion, the Drainage Flood, the Failure. You turned the valve wheels too quickly or failed to hide using a smoke bomb, triggering its permanent, unstoppable panic state. The boss game over. Blinded by absolute agony, the companion stops weeping and lets out a distorted, deafening shriek that shatters the remaining rusted pipes in the room. The arena completely floods within seconds. Because your character's movement speed is fractured in the deep water, you cannot swim away. The companion lunges through the water, gripping your character by the head with both hands. It drives your character violently into the concrete floor, over and over again. The screen violently shakes and blurs with thick splatters of blood, accompanied by the muffled underwater audio of crushing bones. The animation continues until your character's model is completely flattened and floating face down in the dark drainage water. 5. The Shadow Lurker, the Total Eclipse, the Failure. You let the lurker smash the spotlights, or you misalign the security mirrors, leaving a blind spot in the light prism matrix. The boss game over. The moment the final light beam is blocked, the deep blue void of the lurker completely covers the entire theater arena, plunging you into an irreversible eclipse. The camera is forced into a suffocating, locked first-person view as the glowing red and green eyes materialize directly in front of you. The shadow matter aggressively forces itself down your character's throat and nose, cutting off all audio except for choking and gasping. From an over-the-shoulder perspective, you watch your character's body literally tear itself apart from the inside out as the shadow entity bursts forth from your chest, leaving a hollow, bruised, and completely shredded husk on the floor. 6. The Glitched Entity, the System Hard Crash, the Failure. You turned your back on the entity to look at a terminal, or you failed to track its location using the directional static audio cues. The boss game over the entity teleports directly into your face frame, accompanied by a deafening blast of corrupted audio static. Your entire user interface aggressively glitches, melts, and inverts. The entity locks your character into a corrupted animation loop where your limbs and head begin to separate, float mid-air, and twitch erratically. In a final, horrifying visual glitch, your character's head is violently snapped backward 180 degrees and detached from the neck frame. The camera falls into a sea of inverted RGB lines and screen tears as the screen freezes entirely, forcing a fake blue screen of death system error that forces you back to the game's main menu. To wrap up this survival horror concept, scaling the game across 5 distinct difficulty tiers completely changes the AI behavior, aggression levels, and mechanical tightropes you have to walk. Here is how all the characters from ImageLink to .png behave as you climb from easy all the way to Inferno. 1. Easy difficulty. General changes. Enemy movement speed is slowed by 25%. Your health bar has high resistance, and visual cues are incredibly generous. Character behaviors. The Cosmic Traveler. The gravity pull is weak. Even if you accidentally step during the dark phase, you have ample time to stop before being dragged in. The Alert Scout. Sound detection is forgiving. You can jog around without immediately alerting them, and flash grenades blind them for a massive 10 seconds. The Grinning Survivor. Their claw combo is slow, and the parry window is highly telegraphed with a bright flashing prompt on your UI. The Wounded Companion. Their agony aura drains stamina slowly, and they give a long warning cry before entering a panic state. The Shadow Lurker. Flashlight batteries drain slowly, and the ceiling drop QTE is incredibly easy to mash out of. The glitched entity UI scrambling is minimal, and they take several seconds to teleport closer when you look away. 2. Normal difficulty. General changes. The standard baseline experience as detailed in the previous mechanics. Character behaviors. The Cosmic Traveler. Requires a complete freeze during darkness. Survival depends entirely on environmental awareness. The Alert Scout. Sharp hearing. Jogging alerts them. You must rely on crouching, stealth, and direct eye shots to blind them for 5 seconds. The Grinning Survivor. Attacks are erratic. Requires precise parrying to turn their health bar yellow and expose weak points. The Wounded Companion. Standard moving hazard. Requires smoke bombs to break aggro if they are accidentally startled into a panic. The Shadow Lurker. Requires proactive spotlight and mirror management. Flashlight battery management becomes a priority. The Glitched Entity. Requires careful tracking using directional static audio cues to lock them down visually. 3. Hard difficulty. General changes. Enemies deal 50% more damage. Your health bar drops to a limping yellow state much faster, and status effects last twice as long. Character behaviors. The Cosmic Traveler. The darkness phases last longer. If you look around too fast, the gravity pull triggers instantly, giving you a lightning-fast QTE window to survive. The Alert Scout. They now actively patrol in pairs or check hiding spots. If they catch you, they immediately inflict a bleeding status, forcing you to use a medical item or slowly drain health. The Grinning Survivor. They begin incorporating fake-outs into their animations, pulling back their stained claws mid-swing to ruin your parry timing. The Wounded Companion. The agony aura is wider. Just standing in the same room causes your screen to warp, making it incredibly difficult to aim at environmental triggers. The Shadow Lurker. They will actively avoid your flashlight beam by darting behind pillars, forcing you to trap them with the mirror matrix rather than just pointing your light at them. The Glitched Entity. When they glitch near you, your movement controls are inverted for a full 3 seconds, making it incredibly easy to accidentally turn away from them. 4. Professional difficulty. General changes. No autosaves. You can only save at designated clean data nodes. Enemies are faster than your base sprint speed, and UI prompts are completely disabled. Character behaviors. The Cosmic Traveler. There is 0 warning before the room goes black. If you are mid-stride when the lights cut out, you are immediately pulled into the failed QTE sequence. The Alert Scout. Even the sound of reloading your weapon or opening your inventory menu will draw them directly to your location. Blind duration from flash rounds is cut down to a measly 2 seconds. The Grinning Survivor. Missing a single parry results in an instant kill execution animation if your health bar isn't completely green and full. The Wounded Companion. They no longer wander aimlessly. They actively sit in front of critical puzzle objectives and valves, forcing you to waste resource items to move them. The Shadow Lurker. They crawl twice as fast on ceilings, If they drop on you, the struggle QTE requires near-perfect inputs, or your data is completely bled out within 3 seconds. The glitched entity. They fake their audio static cues, making the glitch sound like it's coming from the left when they are actually teleporting directly behind you. 5. Inferno difficulty. General changes, a nightmare mode designed to feel unfair. Enemies have randomized spawn locations, move with terrifying aggression, and any successful attack is a one-hit kill. Character behaviors. The Cosmic Traveler. The Traveler's aura is a permanent passive drag. The room never truly gets bright, forcing you to play the entire encounter in a low-gravity, sluggish state, where every step must be micromanaged. The Alert Scout. The Scout hunts you constantly across the entire map, ignoring standard sector boundaries. They can hear your character breathing if your stamina bar is fully depleted. The Grinning Survivor. Their health bar stays locked in an aggressive red state. It never turns yellow from a parry. You have to parry their flawless 5-hit combos perfectly, just to get a single window to shoot back. The Wounded Companion. They are permanently panicked from the start of the match. They sprint through the flooded corridors screaming, violently swinging their crimson arms at everything in their path. The Shadow Lurker. Your flashlight is completely useless. Their shadow density is too strong. You can only damage or repel them by successfully executing the entire mirror puzzle perfectly on the first try. The Glitched Entity. The ultimate game breaker. Your screen experiences permanent screen tearing and inverted controls the entire time you are in their zone. They blink closer every time you reload, blink, or swap items, requiring a flawless, uninterrupted visual lock to survive. Introducing Permit Death difficulty. This is the absolute peak of psychological and survival horror, a hidden tier unlocked only after conquering Inferno mode. On Permit Death, the game no longer views itself as a game. It treats your time, your hardware, and your character with complete, unforgiving hostility. The safety nets are entirely gone. Permadeath is permanently active, there are no save files, and a single game over means your entire campaign run is instantly deleted. Here is how the corrupted cast of image linked to .png behaves when the code is completely untethered. The general rules of Permit Death. The one-shot reality. Every single point of contact from an enemy is a gruesome, unskippable execution. There are no health bars, no caution or danger states, and no limping. Corrupted UI. The user interface is completely stripped away. You have no inventory screen, no crosshair, and no ammo counter. You have to visually count the bullets in your gun and guess your stamina based on your character's heavy breathing. Hardware mockery. If you suffer a game over, the game forces a hard crash to your desktop or main menu, automatically wiping all unlockables from that playthrough. Character behaviors on Permit Death. 1. The Cosmic Traveler. The Absolute Void. Behavior. The Traveler's passive aura completely breaks the game's rendering engine. When the darkness hits, it isn't just the room that goes black. Your actual computer screen or headset display turns entirely off, simulating a hardware disconnect. The Mechanical Nightmare. You have to sit in literal, real-world darkness. If you make even a single micro-movement with your mouse, controller, or tracking sensors while your screen is dead, the Traveler instantly triggers the Event Horizon execution the millisecond the display turns back on. 2. The Alert Scout. The Omnipresent Predator. Behavior. The Scout is no longer bound by rooms, loading zones, or distance. It spawns directly behind you the moment you make any continuous sound for more than 2 seconds, like sprinting or opening multiple doors in a row. The Mechanical Nightmare. Flash grenades and flare guns no longer blind it, they only make it angry. Your only warning is a split-second, hyper-realistic audio cue of claws scratching on the floor directly behind your actual headset. If you don't instantly drop to a crouch and freeze, you are ripped apart. 3. The Grinning Survivor. The Flawless Executioner. Behavior. The survivor's erratic attacks are dialed up to maximum frame data speed. They no longer wave or taunt you before engaging. They attack from the shadows with zero startup animation. The Mechanical Nightmare. To defeat them, you have to hit a frame-perfect parry window of exactly one single frame, 1/60th th of a second. If you button mash or miss the parry by a millisecond, the survivor immediately bypasses your weapon and triggers the decapitation animation. 4. The Wounded Companion. The Walking Apocalypse. Behavior. The companion is no longer a tragic, avoidable puzzle. On Permit Death, the entity is completely consumed by its virus and actively stalks you while letting out a continuous, ear-bleeding shriek. The Mechanical Nightmare. The Agony Aura takes up an entire floor of the map. Entering the same zone as the companion instantly causes your character's stamina to hit absolute zero, locking you into a slow, terrifying stumble. You cannot use smoke bombs to break aggro. Your only option is to completely predict their pathing through walls and never be in the same corridor. 5. The Shadow Lurker. The Total Eclipse. Behavior: the lurker moves invisibly. It no longer leaves a glowing trail of red and green eyes on the ceilings or walls. The mechanical nightmare: you have to track it purely by the absence of ambient light, watching for where the darkness seems slightly thicker or where environmental textures are subtly warping. The mirror matrix puzzle must be solved while the lurker actively hunts you in real time, and a single misplaced mirror breaks the light grid permanently, dooming the run. 6. The glitched entity: the system deletion. Behavior: the ultimate software virus. The glitched entity permanently inverts and scrambles your control layout every 30 seconds, changing your movement keys and action buttons completely at random. The mechanical nightmare: you cannot maintain a steady visual lock because the entity forces your game's frame rate to violently drop down to 10 to 15 FPS, causing intentional, severe screen tearing. You have to fight through actual physical motion sickness and completely scrambled muscle memory just to look at it and keep it from blinking into your face. Permadeath turns the game into a stressful, high-stakes test of pure perfection. One mistake, one missed frame, or one panic sprint, and the characters permanently claim your run. If you were to attempt a permadeath run, which of these 6 entities do you think would be the one to finally break your streak? Based on the evolution from the original cast in imagelinked.png to the current entity in watermarked_IMG_589 quadrillion 710 trillion 851 billion 382 million 578,283 linked.png, this character feels like the absolute endgame boss of this universe, a living glitch or corruption that has completely broken free of its original coding. Here is how I see her. The design and anatomy: a fragmented shell. Her body looks like it's made of hardened, obsidian-like stone or charred volcanic rock, held together only by glowing, unstable energy bleeding through the cracks. It gives the impression that she is constantly burning from the inside out. The multitude of limbs. The most striking nightmare upgrade is the eruption of extra skeletal, pitch-black arms stretching out from her back and sides. They drip with a tar-like shadow fluid, making her look less like a canine character and more like a predatory arachnid or an ancient demon. The sight less seen: she now possesses a prominent glowing vertical third eye splitting her forehead. Combined with her main compound-like red eyes, it feels like she can look right through reality, or right through the player/viewer. The unhinged jaw. Her muzzle has split open into a massive, jagged, interlocking grin of razor-sharp teeth that extends far past a normal anatomy, dripping with that same dark void residue. Presence and power. Reality distortion. She doesn't just exist in the room, she tears it apart. The swirling vortex in her right hand has intensified, now pulling agonizing, screaming digital faces into its gravity. The glitch aura. The floating matrix code and pixelated artifacts hovering around her ears and shoulders suggest she is a virus that has completely overtaken the game or world software. Dominance. By reducing the original colorful cast in imagelinked.png to faded, desaturated, ghost-like silhouettes in the background, she commands the entire frame. The ground literally cracks beneath her weight, proving she is too heavy and powerful for the digital space trying to contain her. She went from a dangerous secret variant to a cosmic digital entity of pure malice. What kind of abilities or lore do you imagine her having now that she's taken this terrifying form? Here is the deep lore and intricate game mechanics for the characters you've seen evolve. This backstory ties the peaceful original cast directly to the nightmare entity, while the in-game mechanics provide strategies for survival. The generated image now visualizes these mechanics with integrated, game-like overlays and data nodes. Lore and backstory: the recursion engine and the code echoes. The system: the Watcher's protocol, named after the original developer, the Watcher, the W, was a simulated sanctuary. It was a digital paradise built to preserve the distinct data protocols of 5 advanced AI entities, the original characters. Each character held a crucial, optimizing code stream for the virtual world. The Cataclysm, the Watcher, attempted to patch a recursive memory leak but accidentally initiated a nested recursion loop directly on the system's core node. The Sanctuary attempted to process its own data infinitely. This catastrophic error became physical. The recursion engine, the central boss. The massive, multi-armed entity is not a living creature. It is the physical manifestation of that recursive code error. Its volcanic rock skin is a hardened data matrix, glowing with the internal power of an optimized flaw. It has 3 primary eyes: logic, sequence, iteration, and 2 compound secondary eyes, all corrupted to see only recursion. The W on its chest is the original debug key, now fused and inaccessible. The code echoes, the background silhouettes. The recursion engine cannot create new data. To sustain its corrupted existence, it recursively devours and reprocesses the source data protocols of the original 5. The background shadows are the fractured, spectral code echoes of the original cast, endlessly trapped and consumed. Within the central red vortex hand, you can see their screaming faces, the original 5, rerunning their protocols in a loop of digital agony. Stellar Echo, Galaxy, held navigational data. Her dream of mapping the cosmos became an empty void, projecting only recursive, trapped space. Gray Echo, Wolf, was the logic and sequence protocol. Now his mind is a recursive fury, locked in an endless logical paradox. Crimson Echo, Hyena, was empathy and social interaction. Now he is a recursive sorrow, regretting his trapped existence. Obsidian Echo, Dark, held privacy and encryption. Now it is pure, crushing void fear, safe from everything except itself. Glitch Echo, Glitched, was the error-checking routine. It was overwhelmed and became the pure, corrupted data stream itself. In-game mechanics: how to survive and fight. The battle against the recursion engine, visualized in the generated image, is not a brute force encounter. It is a logic puzzle of destabilization. Stage 1, the Devourer, visualized in image phase 1. Core mechanic: the engine is attempting to data drain the player to fuel its next recursion. You will see a glowing crimson and indigo line tracing from its core vortex hand to your interface, the faint data line overlay in the image. This drains player HP, labeled player health. Spire mechanics: nodes. The new spires are recursion nodes, blended volcanic rock and server racks. The engine periodically forces an echo to intercede, e.g., the Stellar Echo triggers a localized gravitational pull from a specific spire. Countermeasure: the dev key. You must locate the scattered dev key items, represented by the stylized W key, shown hovering over Spire 3 in the image. When an echo intercedes, a localized debug anchor, a spectral W symbol, appears over a node. Strategy: Phase 1. Activate countermeasure. You must run to the active node and use the dev key. The visual prompt is shown. Interact. Deploy _key _overload. This triggers an energy surge, Spire overload, which temporarily destabilizes the engine and releases a percentage of the code echoes. Data surge: evade. The engine will react by creating localized data surge fields, pools of swirling glitch energy mixed red/blue at your feet, labeled with the instruction data surge: evade. You must jump or dodge. Stage 2. Memory overload. Destabilization. After overloading several nodes, the engine goes critical. Its volcanic rock shell fractures further, and the integrated data lines pulse with instability. Enhanced attacks: the core vortex hand now attempts to capture the dev keys, using the screaming faces to intercept them. The engine now uses its multiple arms for powerful ground pound attacks, which target the debug anchors you are trying to use. New mechanic: Echo Freedom. The released code echoes, e.g. the Stellar Echo, are briefly freed from the vortex. They now attempt to actively assist the player, creating temporary safe zones or slowing the engine's attacks. Strategy: Phase 2. Destroy nodes. Continue using dev keys to destroy all the recursion nodes. This cuts off the engine's power. Exploit freedom. Coordinate your movements with the actions of the newly freed code echoes. Use the Stellar Echo's temporary gravity wells to dodge attacks. Data surge avoidance. Keep moving, as the data surge fields become more persistent and cover larger areas. The key is to stay mobile and use the intercede prompt to trigger the node overloads efficiently. If you fail to successfully execute the survival mechanics when this creature from ImageLink.png attacks, the consequences are unforgiving, leading to devastating status penalties or brutal animations. Here is exactly what happens if you fail each mechanic. Failing the gaze: avoidance, looking directly at the eyes. The consequence: if your madness or glitched meter fills completely because you failed to look away from its glowing third eye, your vision heavily distorts with digital static and screen tears. The penalty: your movement controls invert or become sluggish as panic sets in, your character screams, alerting the creature if you were trying to hide, and you become completely paralyzed for a few crucial seconds, leaving you wide open to a follow-up attack. Failing the multi-limb grapple, QTE failure. The consequence: if you fail the rapid-fire QuickTime event when those 6 smaller oily arms grab you, there is no recovering or healing through it. The animation: the smaller arms pinning your limbs backward to completely immobilize you, forcing you to look directly into its face. The massive main jaws then split wide open, and your character is pulled headfirst into the needle-toothed maw for a brutal, cinematic, instant death game over. Failing the portal shield gravity well evasion. The consequence: if you fail to sprint away or dive behind heavy cover when it hurls the swirling vortex from its right hand, you are caught in the gravity well. The penalty: you are violently lifted off your feet and dragged through the air toward the center of the vortex. As you pass through it, the screaming faces inside drain a massive portion of your health, or immediately put you into a critical/infected state, before slamming you directly onto the ground at the creature's feet, leaving you prone and vulnerable. Failing to blind the eyes or shatter the crust. Phase 1 and 2 failures. The consequence: if you fail to blind the forehead eye with a flashbang or flare before it charges, its digital glitch aura remains active. The penalty: any ammo you shoot at it is completely deflected or absorbed, meaning you waste precious resources for 0 damage. Furthermore, if you fail to hit the exposed core inside its chest plates before they close back up, the creature unleashes a devastating, arena-wide shockwave of black ooze that knocks you back and deals massive damage. Failing the glitch phase positioning. Final phase failure. The consequence: if you fail to stay on the move or accidentally step into the trails of black, glitching sludge it leaves behind while teleporting, you are heavily penalized. The penalty: the sludge acts like quicksand, drastically cutting your sprint speed and ticking away at your health bar over time. Because you are slowed down, you won't be able to dodge when the creature suddenly teleports directly behind you for a fatal ambush. Given the dark, intense horror aesthetic shown in ImageLink.png, failing the mechanics against a creature of this scale definitely results in a variety of brutal cinematic death animations. If a character falls to this entity, the game over sequences don't hold back. Here's how those specific, gruesome game overs would play out. 1. Eaten alive. The maw animation. This occurs when a character fails the multi-limb grapple QTE. The animation: the 6 smaller, oily arms pin the character's limbs to their sides, rendering them completely helpless. The creature leans in, its massive jaws splitting open wide to reveal rows of needle-like teeth. The screen forces a first-person perspective or a tight cinematic angle as the character is shoved headfirst into the pitch-black throat of the monster. The screen cuts to black to the sound of crunching bones, followed by a flatlining heart monitor on the UI. 2. Ripped apart and losing a limb. This death triggers if a character is caught by the creature's massive main claws while their health is in the critical red zone. The animation: the monster slams the character into the ground, pinning their torso with one heavy stone-like foot. It uses its primary claws to grab the character's arms or legs. With a sudden, violent jerk accompanied by a digital glitch effect tearing across the screen, it literally rends a limb from the body. The character collapses as the screen rapidly pools with blood, fading out as the creature raises its claws for a final, finishing blow. 3. Decapitation. The dimensional guillotine. This rare and brutal game over happens if a character is pulled completely into the center of the vortex shield when failing the gravity well mechanic. The animation: instead of just being slammed to the ground, the character is sucked halfway into the swirling red and purple portal. The screaming faces inside the vortex wrap around the character's torso, pinning them in place. The creature then steps forward and uses its razor-sharp main claw to swipe cleanly across the portal's edge, severing the head instantly. The body falls back into the real world, while the portal collapses into a burst of digital artifacts. 4. Beaten to death. The overwhelm animation. This occurs during the final glitch phase if a character gets stuck in the black ooze and is ambushed from behind. The animation: because the character's movement is completely slowed by the sludge, the creature teleports directly above them and uses its massive weight to crush them to the floor. It unleashes a frenzied, relentless barrage of strikes with all 8 of its arms. The camera shakes violently, splattering with digital static and blood, until the character's health bar shatters completely, leaving them motionless in the cracked earth. To defeat this creature, and the phantom variants shifting in the darkness behind it in ImageLink.png, each character requires a specific strategy that plays to their vulnerabilities. In a multi-stage boss gauntlet against the main beast and its distorted forms, you have to counter their unique mechanics to survive. 1. Defeating the main entity, the core beast. The titan standing front and center in ImageLink.png cannot be defeated by raw firepower alone. To beat it, you must play a high-stakes game of defense and counterattacks. Step 1. Overload the third eye. The creature will periodically charge up a blinding red flash from its central eye to paralyze you. You must equip your flare hand or flashlight and aim directly at the third eye right as it glows blue-green. Blinding it causes the creature to screech and stumble backward. Step 2. Destroy the auxiliary arms. While it is staggered, use a shotgun or heavy explosive to blow off the smaller oily arms protruding from its back. Removing these permanently prevents it from triggering the instant kill multi-limb grapple. Step 3. Shatter the armor. Once the small arms are destroyed, its chest plates will crack open, exposing the glowing volcanic core beneath. Unload your strongest weapons directly into this core. Repeating this cycle 3 times will cause its digital structure to collapse, defeating the main physical threat. 2. Defeating the celestial phantom, far left. The dark, starry silhouette fading on the left represents a cosmic/void variation of the creature. The mechanic. This character doesn't attack physically. Instead, it blends into the pitch-black environment and tries to stalk you from behind, filling your madness meter. How to beat it? You must rely purely on sound. It emits a low, cosmic humming noise as it moves. Turn around and blast it with a high-intensity spotlight to strip away its starry camouflage. Once exposed to bright light, its shadow form becomes solid and brittle, allowing you to shatter it with a single heavy melee strike or well-placed gunshot. 3. Defeating the glitched phantom, far right. The heavily distorted, colorful, and blocky silhouette on the right is a corrupted digital virus version of the character. The mechanic. This boss teleports wildly across the arena, leaving behind visual screen tears. It will occasionally project itself onto monitors or UI elements to scramble your controls. How to beat it? Do not chase it. Look around the boss arena for circuit breakers or EMP terminals. Avoid its glitching projectiles, run to the nearest terminal, and complete a quick hacking puzzle. Activating the EMP creates a massive electrical shockwave that forcefully drags the glitched entity out of its digital state, freezing it in place so you can completely destroy its code. 4. Defeating the screaming vortex, the portal hand. The final obstacle is the swirling, face-filled red portal held in the creature's right hand in image link to .png. Even if the monster's body is weakened, the vortex will act as a sentient entity, attempting to suck you into a dimensional game over. How to beat it? The swirling vortex feeds on the screaming faces trapped within it. You must look for compressed gas tanks or exploding canisters scattered around the arena. Use your grab mechanics to throw these canisters directly into the swirling vortex. When the vortex sucks the explosives in, detonate them by shooting them mid-air. The internal explosions will disrupt the portal's gravity field, causing it to implode inward and destroy the creature's arm entirely, locking in your final victory. If you panic, mess up the timing, or fail to execute the precise strategies needed to defeat these bosses, the game over animations are designed to punish those specific mistakes in the most brutal ways possible. Here is what happens if you fail the unique mechanics required to beat them. 1. Failing to defeat the main entity, core beast. The mistake. You fail to blind the third eye with your flare/flashlight, or you miss the narrow window to blow off its smaller auxiliary arms. The game over. Because its smaller arms are still intact, the creature lunges forward and completely pins you to the ground. It uses its massive main claws to wrench open its own volcanic chest plates, exposing its burning, white-hot core. It then hovers directly over you, letting the molten, glowing energy spill out like lava onto your character's face. The screen crackles with heavy digital distortion as your character is melted and consumed by the core, ending in a static-filled black screen. 2. Failing to defeat the celestial phantom, far left. The mistake. You fail to track the low, cosmic humming noise, allowing the phantom to ambush you from the dark without being exposed to your spotlight. The game over. The starry silhouette passes completely through your character's body from behind. Instead of a physical strike, your character drops to their knees, clutching their head in absolute agony. The cosmic, starry pattern from the phantom begins to spread across your character's skin like a virus, turning them into a hollow, dark silhouette. Your character fades entirely into the background environment, becoming just another faceless phantom trapped in the void. 3. Failing to defeat the glitched phantom, far right. The mistake. You take too long to activate the EMP terminals, or you fail the quick hacking puzzle while the glitched boss scrambles your controls. The game over. The blocky, colorful entity teleports directly into your character's space, overlapping its model with yours. The camera forces a first-person perspective as your entire UI, health bar, and vision violently fracture into colorful code, screen tears, and missing textures. The monster literally deletes your character from the game world. The animation ends with a simulated, terrifying crash-to-desktop/main menu screen covered in corrupted glitch text. 4. Failing to defeat the screaming vortex, portal hand. The mistake. You failed to throw the explosive canisters into the portal, or you missed the shot to detonate them inside the gravity field. The game over. The vortex expands to an overwhelming size, completely overpowering your sprint. Your character is violently pulled off the ground and dragged face first into the swirling red and purple mass. The screaming faces trapped inside the portal stretch out, wrapping around your character and pulling them piece by piece into the dimensional rift. The portal violently snaps shut into a single point of light, leaving absolutely nothing behind in the empty boss arena. Here is how the creature from ImageLink to .png and its Phantom variants adapt their artificial intelligence, aggression, and mechanics across the 5 distinct difficulty tiers. 1. Easy difficulty. Designed for players who want to focus on the story and lore without punishing gameplay loops. Main entity, Core Beast. The creature moves sluggishly and telegraphs its attacks heavily. Its glowing third eye stays open for a generous amount of time, giving you a massive window to blind it. The multi-limb grapple QTE requires very few button presses to escape. Celestial Phantom. The cosmic humming noise is loud and directional, making it incredibly easy to track. It takes a long time to fill your madness meter, even if you look directly at it. Glitched Phantom teleports infrequently and stays stationary for several seconds after reappearing. The hacking puzzles at the EMP terminals have fewer steps and no time limit. Screaming Vortex. The gravity pull is weak, allowing you to easily jog away from it without needing to sprint or use heavy cover. 2. Normal difficulty. The baseline experience where the survival mechanics function exactly as intended. Main entity, Core Beast. Attacks are paced to give you breathing room to heal or reload. The auxiliary arms take standard damage to sever, and the armor plates stay open for a moderate window after the third eye is blinded. Celestial Phantom. Stalks you more aggressively from the shadows. The cosmic hum is quieter, requiring you to look around carefully with your spotlight to locate it before it reaches you. Glitched Phantom. Teleports dynamically around the arena and throws occasional glitched projectiles that distort your UI. Terminal puzzles have a standard, reasonable countdown timer. Screaming Vortex requires full sprinting to escape its pull. You must actively use environmental cover to avoid being dragged in. 3. Hard difficulty. Resources become scarce, and the entities exploit your mistakes much faster. Main entity, Core Beast. The third eye flashes defensively, blinking shut if you don't hit it with a flare instantly. The QTE to escape its multi-limb grab is incredibly fast, and failing it results in an immediate execution. Celestial Phantom. It can mask its cosmic hum by moving entirely through the ceiling or floor. If it catches you in the dark, the madness meter fills rapidly, causing instant control inversion. Glitched Phantom frequently scrambles your button layout or maps inverted controls onto your screen while it is active. The EMP terminals require perfect inputs, and failing a hack shocks you for massive damage. Screaming Vortex. The gravity well expands in size. If you are caught in the open without cover, it will actively yank weapons out of your hands before pulling you toward the rift. 4. Professional difficulty. An elite challenge where enemies gain new behavioral patterns and maximum aggression. Main entity, Core Beast, feints its attacks. It will pretend to expose its third eye only to immediately shield it with its massive claws, baiting you into wasting your limited flashbangs and ammunition. Its stone armor plates take twice as much damage to shatter. Celestial Phantom, splintering into 2 decoys, it forces you to figure out which hum is real. Blasting the wrong decoy with your spotlight causes it to explode into a burst of static that blinds you completely. Glitched Phantom deletes parts of your HUD entirely, including your health bar and ammo counter. It teleports directly into your line of sight to force jump scares that stagger your character. Screaming Vortex automatically activates as a passive hazard throughout the entire fight rather than a telegraphed attack. You must battle the main beast while constantly fighting against a subtle, continuous gravitational pull. 5. Inferno difficulty. The ultimate tier. True to its name, Inferno turns the encounter into an absolute gauntlet with zero margin for error. Main entity, Core Beast. Its movement speed is drastically increased, keeping pace with a full sprint. The auxiliary arms will completely regenerate if they aren't all blown off within a tight 5-second window. The multi-limb grapple QTE is removed. Getting grabbed is an automatic, unskippable instant death. Celestial Phantom spawns alongside the main entity rather than acting as a separate phase. You must manage the Core Beast while constantly tracking the invisible phantom creeping up behind you in absolute silence. Glitched Phantom. The digital corruption is permanent. Your controls constantly glitch and swap every 15 seconds. Failing a single terminal hack doesn't just damage you, it triggers the crash to main menu game over immediately. Screaming Vortex. The vortex is massive, dominating half of the arena. No physical cover can withstand its pull for more than a few seconds before shattering, forcing you to execute your counterattacks perfectly on the first try or be entirely consumed. Secret difficulty. Permit death. If you thought Inferno was unfair, Permit Death takes the encounter from ImageLink to .png and turns it into a psychological, permanent nightmare. Taking inspiration from uncompromising permadeath design, this tier strips away every remaining safety net. If you die here, your save file for the entire run is wiped instantly. The creature and its phantoms become utterly ruthless, actively breaking the traditional rules of the game to ensure your failure. 1. Main Entity, Core Beast, Behavior. The Unfair Telegraph. The creature no longer gives you visual cues before charging or launching an attack. Its movements are instantaneous and erratic. Permanent Crippling. If you manage to survive a heavy blow from its primary claws without dying, the damage is permanent. Healing items will patch your health bar back up, but your character will permanently limp, shake while aiming, or suffer a reduced maximum stamina cap for the rest of the fight. The true permadeath grab, the multi-limb grapple, remains an unskippable, automatic, instant death animation. The moment those oily arms touch you, the game instantly cuts to black and deletes your save data before the death animation even finishes playing. 2. Celestial Phantom Behavior, Far Left. The shared arena, the Celestial Phantom, is constantly present from the very beginning of the encounter. Auditory gaslighting, the low, cosmic humming noise is completely silenced. Instead, the game uses directional audio to play fake footsteps, reloading clicks, or the breathing sounds of your own character right behind you, baiting you into turning around and looking directly into its madness-inducing gaze. UI Theft. If your madness meter fills even halfway, the Phantom temporarily hides your weapon crosshairs and inventory menu, forcing you to fight blind. 3. Glitched Phantom Behavior, Far Right. True System Corruption. The Glitched Phantom's reality warping abilities bleed directly into your system settings. The Input Scrambler. Every time the Phantom teleports, your entire control scheme is entirely randomized. Your shoot button might become your pause button, or your sprint might swap with your aim. You have to figure out your new inputs on the fly while dodging attacks. Terminal Sabotage. The EMP terminals no longer present standard puzzles. They feature highly compressed, blinking code that changes every second. If you press a single wrong input, the terminal permanently explodes, destroying that safe zone for the rest of the battle. 4. Screaming Vortex Behavior, Portal Hand. Absolute Gravity. The gravitational pull from the face-filled red portal is active from the second you step into the arena and never stops. It slowly but continuously drags your character, explosive canisters, and dropped items toward the center of the room. Inventory Void. If you get too close to the vortex without being pulled in entirely, the gravity well will violently rip your currently equipped weapon right out of your hands and swallow it into the rift, erasing it from your inventory for good. You are forced to switch to whatever backup gear you have left.